Some issue on the internet right now about your weight for the last fight. You were mid-240s. You weighed in at 264.5, and obviously the chirping begins immediately about steroids and PEDs. And I know Kevin Ioli wrote about this because, yeah, he got a bunch of emails on it, and he went and talked to Mark Philippi. So explain to people what you did, and how do you take that kind of criticism?
Well, I mean, I understand. Everybody's quick to downplay anybody who is successful at anything. I mean, let's be realistic. I was 245, yes, for the last fight. 2 weeks later, I was already 260 again because of what it took for me to be 245. If you look at my body fat percentage, I dieted down. I had the mentality that, well, I'm going to, have to be, a cardio freak, and, any extra pound is going to count against me. So if it's not pure muscle, it's a waste of my time. So if you look, that's the leanest I've ever shown up in a fight. Well, like any guy who's cutting weight, a couple weeks later, you skyrocket back up because you go back to your natural weight. When I showed up at Mark Philippi's 2 weeks later, I weighed in, and he has the paperwork, I weighed in at 261. That's just my natural body weight. All my other fights, I competed about 255, before that. And so, I wasn't really a 245-pound guy. That's just me cardioed out of my mind, watching everything I ate.
Right.
Purposely trying to be lean as possible. As soon as I obviously dumped that program the day after the fight, pizza and hamburgers, I'm back up to 260. And so really, honestly, you put on about 10 pounds, but if you look at the 10 pounds, it's like, okay, let's see, what's the percentage of muscle? My body fat obviously increased. I was nowhere near as lean as I was for UFC 100. So you put on, you blood volumize because you increase in size and stuff. On a fluid level, you retain more fluid. And so that's, it's not really that far-fetched for a guy my size. It's just the average human being is, well below 200 pounds. And, that would be, hard for a lot of people to fathom. But Mark Philippi's training, Mark Philippi's a huge man of himself, and he's always been a drug-free athlete. He's never had to use that to compete with, and he's competed at the top level, the echelons. That's why I kind of chose him, because I see guys out there that are super strong, but let's face it, a guy who's 280 pounds and, 6% body fat, that's probably not really natural. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but it's like, well, that's just hard for me to believe that. So how is that guy going to train me?
Yeah.
I don't, but if a guy I know who has a big-time reputation for being a naturally trained athlete who's deadlifted well over 800 pounds naturally and being drug tested left and right, okay, well, that guy can show me how to get strong the right way.
So there's no chance you're going to be going to Poland and training with Mariusz Pudzianowski?
No, not at all. Obviously, again, hey, I don't know his personal life, but I would be willing to bet that I'm not going to steer that route, because, the UFC drug tests the hell out of us. I get drug tested before the fight, after the fight, and I get randomly drug tested all the time because I'm under contract with the UFC. And I know that, hey, everything is obviously, I'm sure there's a way around everything, but you know what? That's a lot of stress, and when you're, that's what I've always told people. There might be a way to get around the test, but that means you're worrying about that, and whatever you have to do to figure that out. And you got to fight in a couple hours, and then you got to, worry about that after the fight, that just, fighting enough, as stressful as it is, not necessary.